Hi, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and welcome to the Susie Homesteader channel. What I'll talk about now is maintaining your 10,000 or more gallons of water that you've managed to set up. So in my particular case, we're going to talk about the saltwater generator because I did choose to use that system to chlorinate my pool. And all that salt is doing is turning into a chlorine, and that's what that generator is doing to that. So you still have a chlorine pool, it's just generated in a salt form. So besides the fact that you're going to need, for example, 300 pounds of salt to start with, like on my pool, the book that comes with that saltwater generator will tell you exactly your salt tables that you need, and how many hours that chlorinization process has to work depending on the size of your pool. So if you don't have a saltwater generator and you're just using chlorine tablets or powder, then generally what you do is buy your chlorine tablets and put it into one of those little floaty things where it just kind of disperses it all day long. But if you don't have the saltwater generator, again, you're just putting in straight chlorine. And when you read the back of these bottles, which is super important, it will tell you exactly how much to put in, again, based on the size of your pool. So 2 ways to chlorinate your pool. And the chlorine can also be used in the form of bleach. So if you don't want to use that kind of chlorine or a saltwater generator, bleach will also do the job. And that's part of another chemical process called the BBB method, which is bleach, borax, and baking soda, but we'll talk about that later. So anyway, 2 ways to chlorinate, or 3, including the bleach, and of course that is your main concern on your pool, is chlorinating. And then secondly, you can buy something called Shock and Swim, which is just like a super chlorinator. So when you think your chlorine is low and you've used your test strips to test it, you're just going to shock that chlorine again. Now, if you're not using that and you're using the saltwater generator, you're just going to hit the boost button on your saltwater generator, and that will kind of super chlorinate your pool too whenever you need it. So besides the chlorine, you're also going to have a stabilizer, and this is called a stabilizer and conditioner. It's also known as CYA, which is cyanuric acid. And all this is doing is prolonging the life of your chlorine. And if you don't want to keep putting salt in there, or boosting your saltwater generator, or shocking your pool, then I highly suggest putting in the stabilizer, because when it's sunny like this, all those UV rays just kind of kill your chlorine. So the stabilizer helps with a lot of stuff. And most people make the mistake of not having enough of this CYA or cyanuric acid with their chlorine. So that's kind of important. They go hand in hand. So you do have to have that, even with the saltwater generator. And then depending on whether your pH is high or low, you're either going to do a pH minus, or you're going to do something like a pH plus. Now out in the Rockies here, we're always in need of pH minus, because the water is very high alkaline, and we're constantly trying to reduce that alkalinity. So I have never in the Rockies, in this part of the Rockies, needed pH plus. We've always tried to decrease it, which is just kind of the way it goes in this neck of the woods. So more than likely you're going to need pH minus. Now if you don't want a powder form of that, you're going to use muriatic acid, which is what I actually use instead of the powder, because it's cheaper. And this also helps with your TA, which is called total alkalinity, and that kind of goes hand in hand with your pH levels as well. So if you have to lower your pH level, chances are that will also lower your alkalinity, because they're very similar. Or if you have to raise your alkalinity, you'll also be raising your pH. So those kind of go hand in hand. So again, I use the muriatic acid instead of the powder form. All right, so, and then one more thing you're gonna have to have is some algaecide, and there's nothing else that kills algae except for algaecide. So like all of these containers, you're gonna read the back, and it's gonna tell you exactly how much to put in there based on the size of your pool. So unless you're gonna do the BBB method, which is the bleach, borax, baking soda method, then you really don't need any of these except for the muriatic acid and the algaecide. But all these other goodies you really don't need. So if you have a saltwater generator, you don't need the bleach. But the borax will raise your pH if you need to raise it, and the baking soda will raise your alkalinity if you need to raise your alkalinity. But again, up here in the Rockies, I don't need any of those because number one, I have the saltwater generator and the salt to go with it. And on that note, you don't need to buy $15 bags of pool salt. You can buy $5 bags of water softener salt. Just make sure it's not the pellets and it's the finer grain as opposed to the coarser grain of that. And it will just take a little longer to dissolve in your pool other than the pool salt, because the pool salt is just more refined and it dissolves faster. So again, saltwater generator, salt. In my neck of the woods, the only other two things I need is muriatic acid, because that lowers my pH, which is really my bigger problem. Also lowers my alkalinity, and the algaecide, because we just get a lot of algae in the water and there's nothing else you can do about it. So there's a couple ideas for you on your chemicals. They will give you, with the saltwater generator, they'll give you a copper test strip if you have the copper ionization saltwater generator, which will test your copper levels in the water, which you're going to use. And they're also going to give you a test strip for salt, just to determine your parts per million on salt. And again, go back to your manual, because they tell you everything you need to know on what your parts per million are actually going to have to be. And then, you know, just get the regular old pH strips. But if you don't think you're getting any really accurate readings on this kind of stuff, go get the better test kits that they sell on Amazon, which again I'll have on my shopping link for you. But they do make way better pH testing kits than just these little test strips. These seem to work fine for me, but you know what, sometimes they really don't give you an accurate reading, so just upgrade to a better one. The back of these, all of these containers will tell you exactly where you need to be on your pH levels and everything else. So you're gonna have to have those kits or test strips to be able to really judge where you're at. And again, if you don't have these other chemicals in with the rest of your system, it's just harder on your pumps and your filters, and your saltwater generators clog up faster. So you do need to have all these goodies, unfortunately, as well as your salt. And there's a great website called Pool School that really kind of narrows it down for you on how to balance your pool water, and it's real comprehensive. So if you have questions, you can go to that site too, because that's where I got most of my information. And you can print stuff out just to kind of keep on hand. So it's a good website to really refer to when it comes to maintaining your pool water. Another suggestion I'd make for you is make sure you get one of those cheap little kiddie pools, or even a bucket or anything to put in front of your ladder, because half the problem you have with maintaining your water is what comes off the feet of the people that go in the pool. So get a kiddie pool, make sure it's clean and full, and it's right in front of the ladder, if not under the ladder that goes into the pool. So nobody can get in and out of the pool without washing their feet first. And on that note, the vacuum that they're going to give you with this pool, it's a waste of time. Forget that. You're going to have to buy a better vacuum. And then when you do buy that vacuum, which again I will have on my shopping link, they have automatic vacuums, which I don't really recommend because they usually get hung up on something. And then they just have more of like a suction cup kind of a vacuum, which is what I'm going to get. I don't have it at the moment, but when you do buy your vacuum, make sure that you pick one out that either just connects to the hose inlet style that you have for your pool, or that it connects to a skimmer basket style inlet that you'll have for your pool. So when you buy that vacuum, make sure it has the attachment. Or you can use the original attachment that goes in these skimmers from the crappy vacuum that they give you. But I will tell you, without that vacuum, for your pool, that's half your battle, you know, not being able to get that debris and stuff that gets stuck on the bottom, because the minute somebody jumps in that pool, all that debris and crap that just floated to the bottom is now floating all over your pool and going into your sand filter, which therefore means you're going to be backwashing your filter even more. So I do suggest vacuuming your pool, and again, you'll have to do that based on what kind of debris falls into your pool. So on that note, there's another way to keep your pool a little cleaner, and that is to get a solar cover. And the one they give you again with the pool, it's not a solar cover, it's just a cover. But if you can spend another $100 on the solar cover it and keep it on there as often as you can, it will keep out half of the crap that falls into your pool, and it might heat your pool up like a couple more degrees anyway. So that's a nice thing to have. And then you do want to get some clamps to hold down, these little clamps that they have too, to hold down that cover around the edges of your pool, because the wind can actually just blow that cover back, and then it's defeating the whole purpose. So get the little clamps that you can find that go on the top of this rim here to hold down your cover. And in a minute here, I'm going to show you something else that I built just to keep your pool cover off the ground, which is another kind of important thing, because if it's wet and you put it on the ground, all that stuff from the ground goes back into the pool when you put your pool cover on. So it's all kind of common sense stuff, but there are lots of little tips and tricks to keeping your pool clean if you don't want to spend half your summer being the pool boy or the pool girl, in my case. So there you go. If you have any questions, let me know. Look me up on my website, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and I will have a complete supply list for you of just about everything you need for these above ground pools, and maybe things you really don't need. And I will also have a shopping link for you that goes to Amazon and shows you just about everything I bought that I was pretty happy with. So come see me on my website, Susie Homesteader of the Rockies, and let me know if you have any big questions. We'll see you there. Bye-bye. Let's get started. Subscribe to the Susie Homesteader channel, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.